Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. US President Donald Trump discusses options including military action to take control of Greenland. Denmark warns the move will destroy NATO alliance. India's External Affairs Minister expresses concern on developments in Venezuela, urges all involved parties to have dialogue for the safety of the people. France considers deploying soldiers to help maintain peace in Ukraine. Germany open to ceasefire monitoring role from neighbouring territory. And in sports, rising star Ayush Shetty, sensational Lakshya advanced to Malaysia Open pre-quarterfinal round. PV Sindhu to face Japan's Miyakaze in round of 16. Good afternoon to all the viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with United States, US President Donald Trump is discussing options including military action to take control of Greenland. The White House said this on Tuesday, upping tensions that Denmark warns could destroy the NATO alliance. Meanwhile, France is working with partners on a plan over how to respond to Washington. Here's more.
The White House said on Tuesday that President Donald Trump is discussing options for acquiring Greenland, including potential use of the US military. Washington's stark warning came despite Greenland and Denmark both calling for speedy meeting with the United States to clear up misunderstandings. Denmark has warned that any move to take Greenland by force would mean that everything would stop, including NATO and 80 years of close transatlantic security links. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Denmark can count on European solidarity over Greenland, while warning that NATO members should never attack or threaten each other.
No member of the NATO should attack or threaten another member of the NATO. Otherwise, it would lose its meaning if conflict or aggressive action occurred within the alliance.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister of Greenland, Jens Frederik Nielsen, said on Tuesday that Greenland is open to dialogue and discussions with the US, but they must take place through the proper channels and in respect of international law.
Firstly, I believe that the American president should be taken seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That is, including our NATO, and thus the security that has been provided since the end of the Second World War.
Trump's remarks and threats over Greenland have also triggered sharp reactions across Europe, deepening tensions within NATO just days after the Venezuela operation. With Greenland at the center of transatlantic tensions, European leaders are standing firm on sovereignty and NATO unity. As for now, the Arctic island remains a symbol of both strategic importance and political friction. Anamika Pandit's report for DD India.
Venezuela's interim president insists that no foreign power was governing her country, even as US President announced Caracas will be swiftly turning over millions of barrels of oil to the Washington. Let's now take a look at this report for all the latest updates on this development as well.
Turmoil and tension is gripping the oil-rich nation of Venezuela after dramatic US military operation that ousted President Nicolas Maduro. Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, is scrambling to assert control amid mounting domestic resistance, international criticism, and a standoff with the United States. Rodriguez has ordered the activation of an agro food, industrial, and communal high command to protect the nation's productive apparatus to ensure the flow of essential goods and industrial production remains uninterrupted and urged for unity.
Todo lo que el presidente ha llamado.
Venezuelans, let's keep working so that at the end of 2026 we can say that we have fulfilled our duty as a country in national unity, that we Venezuelans have fulfilled our duty in all the productive sectors.
De paz, que busca su propio camino.
US President Donald Trump was startlingly candid about his intent regarding the South American country's reserves when he declared that Venezuela will turn over 30 million to 50 million barrels of oil to the United States. Venezuela has millions of barrels of oil loaded on tankers in storage tanks that it had been unable to ship due to a blockade on exports by the US since mid December. The blockade was part of rising US pressure on the government of the then Venezuelan President Maduro that culminated in the US forces capturing him last weekend. Oil CEOs are expected to visit the White House as early on Thursday to discuss investments in Venezuela. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has said Canadian oil will remain competitive even if Venezuela boosts output. Thousands of Venezuelans poured into the streets of Caracas, not in celebration but demanding the release of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, sidelined by Washington in the post-Maduro transition, warned that Rodriguez was not to be trusted. In its first confirmation of losses, Venezuela published a list of 23 troops killed in the US strikes. 7 days of mourning was declared. Havana separately issued a list of 32 dead Cuban military personnel. Meanwhile, Venezuelans continue crossing into Colombia in search of safety and stability. Bogota has deployed tens of thousands of troops to secure its border, warning that its sovereignty must be defended after threats from Washington of potential military action similar to the one carried out in Caracas. The international community is sharply divided. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke to the foreign ministers of the G7 countries about the importance of freeing Venezuela political prisoners and putting in place the conditions for democracy and planning for elections. Canada is on the same page, but Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said the United States has set a terrible and a dangerous precedent in Venezuela. The Venezuelan constitution says that after Maduro is formally declared absent, which could happen after 6 months, elections must then be held within 30 days. The next weeks could determine whether Venezuela stabilizes or spirals deeper into conflict and diplomatic crisis. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Tuesday said that India is concerned about the recent developments in Venezuela. Addressing an event during an official visit to Luxembourg, Dr. Jaishankar urged all involved parties to prioritize the well-being and safety of the people of Venezuela.
We are concerned at the developments, but we would really urge all the parties involved to now sit down and come to a position which is in the interest of the well-being and the safety of the people of Venezuela. Because at the end of the day, that is our concern. That we would want Venezuela as a country with whom over many years we've had very good relations. So we would like the people to come out well from whatever is the direction of events.
Akshay Dongre joins us for more. Akshay, good afternoon. A very important statement made by Dr. S. Jaishankar here, once again asserting on the importance of dialogue and diplomacy. Tell us why this statement becomes so important and much needed at present.
Well, firstly, the humanity of this, the human angle of this statement that is coming in from Dr. H. Jaishankar is quite important to see, given a time when countries are more focused on oil, countries are focused on geopolitical interest. They are talking about, camps here, either on the side of the U.S. or against it. The one thing that has been left from this entire conversation is about the interest of the Venezuelan people, as they live in a fear of whether there is going to be an invasion of the US, whether there is going to be a turmoil in the country, whether there is going to be political violence and chaos. The biggest victim as far as this entire fiasco is concerned is the Venezuelan people, and that is what the statement highlights. When, as Dr. Jaishankar says that India's top priority remains the welfare of the people of Venezuela, their safety and security amid all of this chaos that's taking place. So the situation is really about the people of the country that have been taken by surprise on one night. Their leader abducted a country, claiming that they own the country and will be selling the natural resources from that country. The one thing that has been left from the conversation is the interest of those people. And as a country of Global South, as one of the leaders of Global South, it becomes the responsibility of India to echo their concerns as well, as when it comes to the interest of the people. So in Luxembourg, when Dr. S. Jaishankar was asked about India's concerns here in Venezuela, then it has been clarified that the safety and security as well as welfare of the people of Venezuela is going to be the top security for the world's largest democracy, that is India, when it goes on international forums and talks about the entire fiasco that's going on.
All right, thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and getting us the latest on this developing situation. And now, to give you a rounded perspective on this, I'm joined by Professor Anshu Joshi from Jawaharlal Nehru University, School of International Studies. Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast, Professor Joshi. Well, to begin with this, several other countries are in alert mode after Trump's recent action on Venezuela. As pointed out by Dr. S. Jaishankar as well, dialogue and diplomacy once again is the key to peace here. How do you see India's recent statement on the developing and ongoing situation here, Professor Joshi?
India's latest statement by our External Affairs Minister with respect to what is happening in Venezuela and asserting the significance of dialogue and diplomacy to resolve the issues and ensuring strategic autonomy and sovereignty of different nations across the world emphasizes India's stand when it comes to such kind of situations of crisis across the world, when there comes a serious question mark on strategic autonomy and sovereignty of the nations like Venezuela. We have seen that how United States of America, by intruding into Venezuela, ran an operation, and since August it was planned, and US then captured Maduro, the ex-president of Venezuela, along with his wife, and they have been taken to Brooklyn now. They are in jail. And US has not only announced an interim government in Venezuela, it is also claiming ownership on the largest untapped oil and gas reserves of Venezuela. And by doing that, whatever US has done, now there is a serious question mark on international law and bodies like United Nations. And that's where now India comes into the picture, wherein our authorities, our Prime Minister, they are time and again stating about the importance of dialogue and diplomacy to resolve the issue, as we have seen that since 1893, United States of America has been toppling the governments in different parts of South America, starting from Hawaii. And latest, we have seen what has happened in Venezuela.
Now, there are also discussions around Greenland. Tell us, why is Greenland so important for the United States, first of all?
First and foremost, Greenland is very strategically located. It's an autonomous country which comes under the Kingdom of Denmark, and it is known for its very large ice sheet and with a very low population of almost 60,000 people. It is situated between Arctic and Atlantic Oceans and shares its borders with Canada. And it's a part of NATO. And Greenland also has very good critical minerals ranging from uranium to titanium and copper and iron ore and so on. So United States of America, we have seen that in recent times, Trump is trying to capture the areas, territories, wherever either they are strategically located or they have critical minerals or rich natural resources. So because of its location and its critical minerals, United States of America is now having claims over Greenlands. But let me also share a very significant fact that what Danish PM has also stated yesterday, that any attack on Greenlands would be considered as an attack on NATO, because Charter 5 of NATO talks about the concept of collective security, wherein an attack against one of the member nations of NATO is considered as the attack on all the member nations of NATO. So there is a serious question mark that what would Trump be doing, because in case if he plans any attack on Greenlands, it would be considered as an attack on NATO. And if NATO members, if they don't react, or if they don't then stand in front of Trump, NATO would be dead.
But so far Trump is talking about a deal and not an attack. How do you look at the deal happening and unfolding if it happens in any case?
In past couple of months, we have seen Trump's statements and even his latest statements. When we read between the line, he is trying to make an announcement that his next, in the name of deal, his next motive would be to claim the ownership of these resources and base of Greenlands. So, and as Greenland has its own autonomous status, but it is a part of Kingdom of Denmark, and we do not see any kind of willingness from Denmark when it comes to any deal with Greenland. So that's where I do see that there is a situation of conflict, peaceful or violent, that the future will tell us.
So what, according to you, could be a viable way to acquire it without going against the European allies?
That's a tough question, but as we can see how the things are unfolding in South America, in and around America, also in Europe, and what is happening to NATO, the countries have started reacting directly or indirectly now against what Trump is doing. And we all have been discussing after US attacked Venezuela that Greenland might be their next motive, or the next place where Trump might go. But then there are other countries in South America as well, and European nations indirectly are condemning what Trump has done against Venezuela. And different international platforms also, like United Nations, are now coming up in support of Venezuela. So having said that, we can understand that now we can see there are clearly, division in the voices when it comes to what Trump is doing. And it is not only bullying a nation, it is also about attacking the strategic autonomy and territorial integrity of a nation. So how things will unfold, and that's where we also see that Russia and China are waiting and watching, as in if the world does not react to what Trump is doing, then it also opens a window for China to attack Taiwan, or for that matter, Putin to go ahead and annex other territories around Russia. So at the moment, what US is doing not only is related to bilaterally with the other country, it is also about, by and large, the whole global politics and the world order that we are observing. It is changing.
All right. However, White House calls it as a part of their foreign policy. Thank you so much, Professor Anshu Joshi, for joining us and getting us a rounded perspective on US's take on Greenland so far and what they are discussing about it. Moving on. Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center is the largest federal pre-trial holding facility in the United States. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, are the latest high-profile inmates held in this center. MDC Brooklyn is the only prison in New York City designated to hold suspects facing federal trial, with the capacity for 1,600 inmates. Recent detainees include rapper Sean Diddy Combs, Jeffrey Epstein's former accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, Former Latin American president charged with drug trafficking Juan Orlando Hernandez of Honduras, who recently received a pardon from US President Donald Trump, is also housed in this very prison. Now, the heavily used MDC Brooklyn has faced accusations of mismanagement and is regularly criticized for its aging facilities. The jail has been plagued by a series of high-profile incidents, including a devastating power outage in the middle of a freezing winter in 2019 and the stabbing death of 2 inmates in the year 2024. Recently, it has begun holding migrants suspected of being in the country illegally as part of Trump's ongoing immigration crackdown. UK and France are ready to deploy troops to Ukraine if a peace deal is signed. Trilateral declaration of intent was also signed after Coalition of the Willing summit in Paris with a plan to establish military hubs. Here's more.
France and Britain signed a declaration of intent on the future deployment of multinational forces in Ukraine if a peace deal is made with Russia at a summit in Paris of the Coalition of the Willing of mainly European nations. Unlike previous coalition meetings, the summit was also attended by US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, President Donald Trump's son-in-law. Witkoff said after the summit that Trump strongly stands behind security protocols.
We think we're largely finished with security protocols, which are important so that the people of Ukraine know that when this ends, it ends forever. But we also think, critically, that we are very, very close to finishing up as robust a prosperity agreement as any country has ever seen coming out of conflicts like this.
The agreement covers troop numbers as well as training provision and the necessary resources to help Ukraine return to peace and support the regeneration of its own forces. French President Emmanuel Macron said that the signing of security guarantees, including the deployment of a multinational military force, would dissuade further aggressions on Ukraine.
This meeting today has had significant progress, which is reflected by the Paris Declaration for robust security guarantees for a solid and lasting peace. This declaration of the Coalition of the Willing recognizes, for the first time, an operational convergence among 35 countries that comprise the Coalition of the Willing, Ukraine, and the United States of America to build robust security guarantees.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that peace in Ukraine was closer than ever, but added a word of caution.
It's important that we're starting the year like this. European and American allies, side by side with President Zelensky, standing for peace. And we are closer to that goal than ever. But of course, the hardest yards are still ahead.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv's allies had determined how a European deterrence force would operate in Ukraine following a ceasefire, as well as which countries would participate.
The details have been worked out in the system of other documents. It has been determined which countries are ready to take the lead in the elements, guaranteeing security on the ground, in the sky, at sea, in restoration. It has been determined which forces are needed. It has been determined how the forces will be managed, at what levels the command there will be.
Meanwhile, Russia has repeatedly warned that any foreign troops in Ukraine would be a legitimate target. Russian President Putin has repeatedly warned that Ukrainian troops must withdraw from all of Ukraine's eastern Donbas region. Anamika Pandey's report, DD India.
In other updates, Yemen's southern separatists said on Wednesday that their leader, Aydrous al-Zubaydi, is in Aden, overseeing military and security operations in the city after a Saudi-led coalition in the country said he fled to an unknown destination. The separatists added that they have lost contact with their delegation in the Saudi Arabian capital of Riyadh. Zubaydi was set to travel to Saudi Arabia days after Yemen's government said it had asked Riyadh to host a forum on the southern issue. In a statement, coalition spokesperson Turki al-Maliki said a flight carrying a large number of senior leaders of the separatist group departed after a delay of more than 3 hours without Subedi and with no information on his whereabouts. South Korea has urged China to help curb Pyongyang's nuclear program and suggested a freeze in its development of weapons of mass destruction was feasible with the right conditions. Lee Jae-myung has asked Chinese President Xi Jinping to play a role in mediating Seoul's efforts to engage North Korea. Lee's visit this week was the first by a South Korean leader to China in 6 years. The Chinese leader, in response, urged Seoul to show patience with Pyongyang. North Korea has repeatedly declared itself an irreversible nuclear state and relations between the two Koreas have fallen to their worst levels in years. Japan said on Wednesday that China's ban on exports of dual-use items to the country was absolutely unacceptable and deeply regrettable as a diplomatic dispute between Asia's top two economies intensified. The move is Beijing's latest reaction to an early November remark by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takeuchi about Taiwan. Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara said the Foreign Ministry has lodged a formal protest with China, strongly objecting to the measure and demanding its withdrawal. Dual-use items are goods, software or technologies that have both civilian and military applications, including certain rare earth elements that are essential for making drones and chips. Moving on to updates from Bangladesh now. Now, a youth named Mithun Sarkar, aged 25, died after jumping into a canal while being chased by several locals over allegations of snatching money in Nagaon, triggering widespread tensions in the area. According to police and local residents, the incident occurred on Tuesday afternoon when a group of youth chased Mithun, suspecting him of theft. While trying to escape, he ran towards a nearby canal and jumped into the water. Later, his body was recovered from the canal. Police said further investigation is currently underway to determine the circumstances surrounding the incident. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. Elvis Presley fans and tribute artists kicked off their annual journey to the annual Elvis Festival in the Australian regional town of Parkes on Wednesday. Enthusiasts clad in Elvis-themed attire converged on Central Station before embarking on a 357-kilometre westward journey via the Elvis Express. Consumer Electronics Show 2026, which is one of the largest technology exhibits in the United States, opened its doors on Tuesday. This year, humanoid robotics emerged as a major highlight, with companies presenting robots that can dance, assist in healthcare, and even stock shelves. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Dr. S. Jaishankar interacts with the members of Indian community in Luxembourg, underlines significance of deepening of partnership between the two nations. Prime Minister Modi hails commissioning of Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Pratap.
This week on Defence Dynamics, India is reshaping its military structure with Bhaira formations. What are ramjet-powered artillery shells? And how India's rocket punch gets an emergency boost with Suryastra. As Europe and Israel turn to India for industrial depth, my take explains the why. Watch Defence Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 PM IST only on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching the India News Hour. Time to quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. US President Donald Trump discusses options including military action to take control of Greenland. Denmark warns the move will destroy NATO alliance. India's External Affairs Minister expresses concerns on developments in Venezuela, urges all involved parties to have a dialogue for safety of the people. France considers deploying soldiers to help maintain peace in Ukraine. Germany open to ceasefire monitoring fall from neighbouring territory. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who's on a 6-day visit to France and Luxembourg, interacted with the members of Indian community in Luxembourg, where he underlined the significance of the deepening partnership between Luxembourg and India across political, business and technological domains. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also had an interaction with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs Xavier Bettel, covering the bilateral cooperation and global situation. Both the leaders specifically discussed finance, investments, digital, AI, space and talent mobility, as well as continued deepening of India and European Union ties.
Now 78 years going of our relationship, and we've come a long way. For us, we really see Luxembourg as a very important partner in itself, but also with the European Union, and at a very crucial time in the development of our own ties with the European Union. So the influence you have in shaping that larger relationship, the support that you extend, that is something which is of great value to us. And I thank you, because I know in many ways you've been very much an advocate of deepening ties between India and the European Union.
The minister also met Grand Duke of Luxembourg and conveyed the warm greetings of President Draupadi Murmu. He also appreciated his positive sentiments for India and for deepening bilateral partnership. And during a press conference in Luxembourg, Dr. S. Jaishankar termed India's relationship with Pakistan an exception due to Islamabad's long-standing and open support for terrorism.
For us, the relationship with Pakistan is exceptional, because if you look at the world, I mean, forget for a moment this is, our region. Show me in the world in this day and age any country which actually has pursued the kind of policies which Pakistan has against its neighbor. That for decades, you've had these training camps, not secret training camps, they're all training camps in the big cities of Pakistan, very open, where the state, the military supports terrorism, and they've tried to normalize it as though it's their right to do it. Nobody buys it anymore. Everybody knows that these are people who have supported the state. Now that is also, it's a very unpalatable reality, but it's one which, we cannot sort of be oblivious to. We have to build our policies saying, okay, that's how that particular neighbor is going to be. So those who are far more, willing to work with us and be helpful, positive, we'll have to deal with them in that way. Those who do the kind of things which Pakistan does, we'll have to deal with it in a different way.
Moving on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the commissioning of Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Pratap. On X, he wrote, and I quote him here, "The commissioning of Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Pratap is noteworthy for numerous reasons, including the fact that it adds to strengthen our vision of self-reliance, boosts our security apparatus, and reflects a commitment to sustainability, among others." Unquote. On Monday, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh commissioned Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Pratap, the first of two indigenously designed pollution control vessels for the Indian Coast Guard at Goa. Samudra Pratap is India's first homegrown pollution control vessel and the largest ship in the Coast Guard's fleet so far. Moving on to weather updates now. Snow, ice and freezing temperatures hit parts of Europe on Tuesday, causing hazardous traffic conditions and killing at least 6 people. Around 100 flights were cancelled at Paris's Charles de Gaulle airport on Wednesday because of snowfall and fierce cold conditions, and a further 40 at the French capital's Orly airport. Let's take a look at this report.
Heavy snowfall and icy weather conditions have caused widespread travel disruption across Europe, with 6 deaths reported in weather-related incidents in the continent. In Germany, temperatures plunged well below -10 degrees centigrade in the south and east early on Tuesday, and much of the country was blanketed in snow. In Britain, the Meteorological Department reported winter weather hazards could continue throughout the week for most of the country. Temperatures overnight on Tuesday had fallen as low as -12.5 degrees Celsius in eastern England, marking the coldest night of the winter so far. France's National Weather Service said 38 districts would be placed on orange alert for snow and black ice on Wednesday. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled across Europe, with thousands left stranded. Heavy snow in Paris has forced major flight cancellations, with about 40% of flights at Charles de Gaulle and 25% at Orly Airport getting impacted. At Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, over 400 flights were cancelled as the winter weather crippled traffic at one of Europe's main transit hubs for the 5th day. All domestic rail services in the Netherlands were also suspended early on Tuesday after the IT outage compounded disruption across the country's rail network. High-speed Eurostar services to Paris from Amsterdam were either cancelled or running late on Tuesday. Bureau Report, DD India.
Harsh winter is affecting normal life across many parts of India as well. Minimum temperature in Delhi NCR has dropped below 8.6 degrees Celsius, and the authorities have urged the citizens to outdoor activities in early morning. DD India's Abhimanyu Panwar has a report. Take a look.
Harsh winter continues to affect normal life in many parts of India. North India is reeling under severe spell, with minimum temperatures reaching 8.6 degrees Celsius in Delhi NCR region. Parts of northern and central India are likely to experience severe cold, with night temperatures remaining below normal in next few days. IMD has predicted dense fog formation over parts of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan for the next few days. Fog may also persist over northeast India, leading to poor visibility and disruption to transportation. Ground frost conditions are likely at isolated places over Uttarakhand, adding to the cold stress. Authorities have advised citizens to limit outdoor activities during early hours and follow safety advisories. Light to moderate rains accompanied by thunderstorms is expected over southern India. Isolated heavy rainfall is also likely over Tamil Nadu and Kerala between 9th and 11th January. Bureau Report, DD India.
And to give you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Taposh Bhattacharya. Good afternoon, Taposh. What more can you tell us about the changing weather patterns?
Right. So, Deepika, we have to understand the fact that in the Central Europe and the way the Arctic air has gripped the whole of Central Europe and much part, especially places like Ukraine, Poland, France, it seems that the temperature has fallen at least 5 degrees Celsius. In fact, in many places it has touched minus double digit. So that actually have created a lot of chaos, especially when it comes to the airport area. So that is one, especially Charles de Gaulle Airport, Paris's Charles de Gaulle Airport and Heathrow and other places have seen a major impact. Paris Charles de Gaulle's airport have seen more than 600 flights getting cancelled. So that is one of the major cause of concern that we have seen in Europe. other places also we're getting the same report that flights are being cancelled, especially because of de-icing and weather condition worsening due to this Arctic weather, and the situation is expected to remain the same in the next few days as well. So no respite from harsh cold weather for next few days in Europe.
Thank you so much, Thapur, for joining us and getting us the latest on this. Moving on, counterintelligence Kashmir on Wednesday raided 22 locations across the valley, including over 15 in Srinagar. Officials said the raids are linked to an ongoing cyber terror investigation aimed at identifying individuals and networks involved in routing illicit funds through mule accounts. Now, during the searches, CIK teams seized digital devices and other relevant documents. Uttarayan is just around the corner and Ahmedabad is already soaring high with festive excitement. DD India correspondent brings us a report from the heart of the Kite Bazaar in Ahmedabad. Take a look.
This is the heart of Ahmedabad, alive with colors, noise and celebration. This is one of the most vibrant and crowded kite markets in the city, where a number of people, traders, kids, youngsters come together to bargain and prepare for the festival of Uttarayan, where Gujarat brings in the harvest season with thousands of kites soaring in the sky.
From traditional paper kites to designer and eco-friendly varieties, shops are offering a wide range of options. Traders say demand has increased significantly this year, and kite enthusiasts are buying the stock in advance. Popular kite hubs like Raipur, Jamalpur and Manek Chowk are buzzing with activity as the kite frenzy grips the city. Normal kites carry a nominal price tag, while some designer kites are demanding a heavy premium, with price running into hundreds.
हमारे गुजरात में तो ऐसे भी अहमदाबाद में तो पूरा उत्तरायण का माहौल बना ही रहता है, सब ढाबे पे चढ़ते हैं और पूरी तरह सबसे ज्यादा उत्तरायण का ही त्योहार मनाते हैं।
ये अहमदाबाद का सबसे बड़ा त्योहार है, मतलब इसमें सब संप्रदाय के लोग पूरे हर्ष और उल्लास से काम करते हैं और इससे तो कई लोगों को रोजी रोटी मिलती है।
Uttarayan is also associated with some special dishes and snacks. In homes across the state, families prepare traditional delicacies like undhiyu and jalebi. The true charm of Uttarayan can be seen in Ahmedabad's heritage areas. In old city localities such as the Poles, Khadia, Jamalpur and Raipur, almost every terrace is occupied. From early morning till sunset, rooftops are filled with children, youngsters and elders flying kites and cheering. As kites compete with each other, every successful cut of the thread is celebrated with a huge chorus of Kai Pichu.
Uttarayan here is not just a festival, it's an emotion which brings together the whole community, and also when terraces become playgrounds and the sky becomes a canvas. With camera person Lakshya, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
Time for a short break, but still to come on the other side. After the break, we'll get you all the latest on the ongoing Khelo India Beach Games. In tennis, Hurkacz and Iga Swiatek lead Poland into the ongoing United Cup quarterfinals round. More details after this short break.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time to give you an update from the world of business. Well, Germany has long suffered from high energy prices, and many were angry when the country switched off its last nuclear power plants 3 years ago. But there's also a reason why most in the country and the government do not want to go back to nuclear power. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Good afternoon, Lars. What can you tell us about the debate?
Thanks for having me. Well, I'd like to start by giving some context. German energy prices exploded a few years ago when Russia attacked Ukraine and when Germany, as well as most of the European Union, sanctioned the country and banned Russian gas. It was particularly tricky for Germany because the country had long relied on Russian gas as a relatively cheap energy source. Now prices were suddenly up. There was no quick alternative energy source. Nuclear was on many people's minds, but at the time there were only already 3 power plants left and all of them set to be dismantled. Meanwhile, they have been switched off. Bad timing maybe, but for a very strong reason. Germany is still trying to deal with the leftovers from its nuclear past, searching for final storage for radioactive fuel rods. And they just announced, no, not that they found one, but the search will likely go on for decades.
Also tell us, Lars, why is the search for final storage so difficult?
Because of what they're looking for. To store these highly radioactive fuel rods, they need a facility that is at least 300 meters below the ground, and it has to be in clay earth or granite or something like that. They're also looking for a location that is topographically secure and won't see any earthquakes or such disasters. The point is to find a location that would be guaranteed safe for 1 million years. Now, at the rate we're going, I don't think we will be here in 1 million years, but that's just me. Now, within Germany, the researchers have now taken 75% of the land off the table. Only a quarter of the country is even theoretically suitable. But of course, you also don't want a larger city nearby, and there's many more factors to be considered. For now, the fuel rods used in the past are in intermediate storage facilities, by the way, that are also extremely secure. But it's easy, all in all, to see how nuclear energy may be comparably cheap, but how it also has a long tail.
Thank you so much, Lars. Now let's get you the latest sports update. And for that, let's first talk about badminton. PV Sindhu overturned a 6-1-6 deficit to script a remarkable straight set comeback victory over lower-ranked Sung Hsuan-Yu of Chinese Taipei in the women's singles category first round at the ongoing Malaysia Open. PV Sindhu was returning to the court after a long time away from action, having ended her 2025 season early due to an injury. Sindhu was pushed to her limits as she trailed 1-7 at the start of the match with signs of rustiness. PV Sindhu shook off the rust quickly and turned up the heat on Sung, showing shades of her best attacking game. With an all-round performance, she finally triumphed over her opponent with a 21-13, 22-20 scoreline. PV Sindhu will next face Japan's Miyazaki in round of 16. And now let's get you the latest update. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to his Israeli counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu. After talking to him, he posted on X, and I quote him here, he said, "Glad to speak with my friend Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and convey New Year greetings to him and the people of Israel. We discussed ways to further strengthen the India-Israel strategic partnership in the new year ahead. We also exchanged views on the regional situation and reaffirmed a shared resolve to fight terrorism with greater determination," unquote. Now, to get you more on this, I'm joined by the India correspondent Akshay Dongre. Akshay, 2 important points have been highlighted here. First, the bilateral relationship, the warm relationship that India and Israel shares. And second, united voice against terrorism. How do you look at this latest development, Akshay?
Well, this specific tweet also highlights the kind of importance that that India gives to Israel as far as its own shared concerns and ties with the countries are there. India and Israel both have shared challenges. They both have been victims of terrorism. They both have been fighting terrorism for decades now and have developed quite a warm relation when it comes to anti-terror cooperation is concerned in terms of defense, in terms of trade, and there are a range of areas where both the countries are trying to come closer to each other. Prime Minister Narendra Modi specifically speaking about speaking to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, also highlights the importance that Israel gives to India and India gives to Israel when it comes to their shared bilateral relations are concerned, and especially given the fact that the region West Asia still is going through a lot of churn, a lot of turmoil with the massive protests that are taking place in Iran, the oil issue that is on a boil because of the Venezuelan crisis. Tensions still persist in the West Asian region where India's key interests also lie, and that perhaps may be the reason why the shared commitment of fighting terror, fighting insurgency, fighting these kind of challenges remain on the top priority of both the countries, where cooperation by both the countries is the key to tackle these challenges. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has talked about the shared challenge of global terrorism, especially emanating from countries like Pakistan that have been a concern for both the countries, and the way both the countries can forge new ways to tackle this challenge that has been time and again resurging, threatening the peace in the region, not only in South Asia but in the West Asian region as well.
Also, how does this reflect on India's global prowess? Because when we talk about the warm relationship India shares, it's not only with Israel but with the rest of the world as well. How do you see that India building up so prominently?
Well, it's not just Israel and the region here as far as our neighborhood is concerned, but the speciality that India has is to maintain a relation with one country while also maintaining a relation and equally good ties with their adversary as well. We have seen this in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, where India, while maintaining quite close ties with Russia, it has maintained similar kind of warm relations with Ukraine, which has repeatedly called for India to initiate or rather play a bigger role when it comes to dialogue and diplomacy and resolving a conflict. Whereas on the same side, if you look at the West Asian region, India, as we have seen in this tweet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi openly talking about the close ties between the two countries. The bilateral trade has increased, defense cooperation has deepened, and the ties when it comes to anti-terror operations, they have significantly increased between the two countries. While at the same time, in the region, they have many adversaries like Iran, many adversaries in the region like Jordan and other countries as well, where India has tried to maintain an equal amount of tie, being a partner of the global South, the South-South ties that India shares with all of these countries, and try to find a resolution of the conflicts through dialogues and diplomacy, as PM Narendra Modi has always advocated, and not through a conflict. So it seems that this is yet another way of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and India as a country to resolve differences, get updates in the region, play a bigger role that India has been asked to play when it comes to these kind of conflict resolutions are concerned. Being the largest democracy and the fourth largest economy of the world, there are certain responsibilities that lie with India, and India is trying its best to fulfill that role and fill that gap that has been left after the major other powers have started going isolationist and talking only about their selfish interests.
Right from the year 2017, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Israel, to the current year and to the last telephonic conversation that happened in the month of December, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has time and again reiterated on India-Israel strategic partnership, and this has been mentioned in their latest phone call as well. How do you see India-Israel's strategic partnership getting a boost from this latest communication, Akshay?
Well, India's interests in West Asia are quite important when it comes to energy resources, energy ties, other trade areas as well. The diaspora that lives in millions of population in the region, our interests are quite strong when it comes to the West Asian part of the world. And any kind of turmoil, any kind of crisis, any kind of threats is not only a threat to the region but a threat to global peace as well. Interests of India to And Israel, while it's a smaller country when it compares to the other countries of the region, but it is quite a significant nation there that has been, fighting for peaceful settlement of all the people there, that has also been fighting against terrorism, that has been a key innovator of a state-of-the-art defense tech, of many of the innovative solutions of the problems that we have in the world today, and it has been more than willing to share this tech with countries like India that share the same challenges, share the same concerns. Similarly, when it comes to India, India has been pioneer in its own industries such as pharmaceuticals, healthcare. It's a great history with large tourism industry and other kind of industries as well, where it has also been quite willing to share its own expertise with Israel. So it's a mutually beneficial relation that both the countries share. And with this call that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with this call that he did with Benjamin Netanyahu, it was a shared reiteration of the ties between the two countries, and sort of a friendly call as well, where the two leaders, at a level of personal relation as well, spoke to each other, talked about each other's challenges that they are sharing right now, updates about their countries, and wishing each other Happy New Year.
And also a very important point here, Akshay, that it is not only during bigger events like G20 or others, but also during important visits. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting multinational countries, he always affirmed and he always is very vocal about his fight against terrorism, and that is equally echoed by the other parties as well, straight from the Ethiopian Prime Minister and now to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. How do you see the world uniting against their fight on terrorism, Akshay?
Well, it's quite important to ensure that the world's attention does not move from the threat that terrorism is. How it can hamper the global peace, how it can, it brought the entire world to a major crisis after Pakistan continued with its terrorist activities. After the Pahalgam terror attack, it was a full-blown attack by India. India destroyed several of the bases, and had it not been for us to stop at a point in time, the conflict could have escalated to a much larger extent. It would have threatened the global peace in the region. Both India and Pakistan are nuclear-armed countries, and Pakistan being one of the biggest sponsor of terrorism, a country that has been on green list consistently by FATF. This issue is much bigger than the countries have been paying attention for, and that has been the continuous and consistent endeavor of India to ensure that the issue of terrorism is highlighted time and again, so that the world keeps on striving to find a solution to that.
Thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and getting us the latest on this latest development and the phone call that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had. Back to sports updates. Top-ranked Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen progressed to the second round of the season-opening Malaysia Open in Kuala Lumpur on Tuesday. Lakshya defeated Singapore's Jiayang Jasonte in a first-round encounter that lasted for 1 hour and 10 minutes. The 24-year-old from Almora registered a final finish at Hong Kong last season and defeated world number 21 Tay in 3 sets. A 2021 World Championship bronze medalist, Lakshya Sen will next face Hong Kong's Lee on Thursday. Meanwhile, India's Ayush Shetty began his 2026 season on a high note, defeating Paris Olympics medalist Lee Ziqian in the first round of the Malaysia Open. Ayush outclassed the experienced shuttler by 21-12, 21-17 in just 39 minutes at the Super 1000 event. And with this, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us right now. Namaskar.